Hey everyone, Tactics here with a bit of a scuffed setup because I'm in the middle of a move, but I still have to record this video for you guys, and I'm going to be going through Tazavesh Streets of Wonder today, my advanced route. Obviously, you guys are going to be a little bit more familiar with this dungeon here because it was in Shadowlands Season 3 compared to the other 6 videos that I've done for the 6 new dungeons that came in Season 4, so check those out on my channel if you haven't already. So hopefully this is a bit more familiar for you guys, but I do have some tricks still regardless. So the big thing about streets here is that there is both kind of a right side and a left side route that you're going to see a lot. People actually commonly use both at high key levels. Both are viable. They both kind of accomplish different things though. One thing to note is that personally on higher key levels, I am a big fan of skipping Zolgamuk, specifically also on tyrannical weeks. Because on tyrannical weeks you really want that bloodlust for the first boss. It's a pretty big time save because you do get to a point where you can no longer immune cages, and at that point the fight starts getting both very long and very dangerous. So having lust for that boss on tyrannical week is a huge time save, and if you're pulling Zolgamuks in this dungeon, you kind of have to lust him, so, or her rather. So really prefer skipping Zolgamuks in this dungeon, and then like I said, this is a right side route, so we go over big pull here. This pull is lusted on fortified and not lusted on tyrannical, again because of the late lust on tyrannical. You don't have lust back up for this, and that means that this route has a slight variation from tyrannical to fortified because you really want your next lust to be on Postmaster. So in order to do that on something like fortified week, you need to do like this big pull here with an Atherism. That's one pull in Mailroom, and then you actually go and do Oasis. On tyrannical week, however, like I said, you have the late lust here, so you don't actually lust this pull. So instead, what you do is you just go do this pull into the Oasis or post room, sorry, and then you just keep clearing post room and go straight into Postmaster with your second bloodlust. So a slight variation there depending on the week for tyrannical to fortified, just to get your lust on Postmaster. That's all that you're doing there. After that, you go across. Note a couple things that happen. First off, in this orange pull here, we always send one DPS to go do the maze. I believe has to be usually a rogue or a hunter are the two best candidates for this because they can do it fairly consistently unless they get really bad RNG without dying, or dying at the very end after they've completed it. That's fine because you do have someone open up the portal over here. So if they do die, they can just run back and regroup with everybody. But that gives you a pretty decent time save because then you can just either go straight out of this pull into the Oasis, no waiting, or you can do that immediately after Postmaster again, depending on the week. The other thing we do is also while this pull is happening and going, we have our healer go all the way across and open up this portal over here just for quick transport once we're done this half of dungeon. And you can just, after Postmaster or after you're done all these bosses even, there's a portal here as well. So if you're doing Oasis second, you're done Oasis, you step into this portal and you go through whichever, straight across to this portal here, and you end up back on this side of the room. Easy walking through teleport stuff. Similarly, Postmaster has the portal right outside it here, and you same thing, run across to here with the portals. Doesn't require skip, doesn't require anything like that. Very easy to do. Once you're actually across, we do a quick grouping of these Nathrazim. You can subtract, like this guy here, for example. If you don't want to do 4 Nathrazim and a Peacekeeper, you can like do this guy later. For example, like you can subtract like this from this pull, and like a couple other things here, and just do a pull, like a big pull after the boss. We just add them in to this pull here. It's pretty fun. Yeah, definitely love having 4 Nathrazim hitting me in the face. And then you go boss, and then you send someone up to trigger the RP for Swazmi while doing this stuff, and come back down. You finish off these guys while they're doing that, and then you have no RP for Swazmi. So again, trying to trigger RP quickly as possible. Obviously, the little RP tech that was worked in Season 3 for this boss does not work anymore. They hotfixed that. So it's a little different now. That's why you do this pull while you're waiting for the RP to happen. So let's get into the VOD now. Here, again. So this is a tyrannical key. On fortified, you tend to rip lust on this pack with this route because again, not pulling Zolgamuks. So you just kind of blow it on this pack to get it on CD, so you have it for when you actually need it. later on in the dungeon. Another option is, if you don't want to pop it here, is you can pop it on the double pull that we're going to do shortly here. But again, focusing on Gate Warden for this pack, that opens the door, and you can just drag these security guys with you once that guy dies. See, I'm just leaving as soon as these security guys are low, grouping up the next pull here. Big thing on these specialists, you just want to kick the spark burns, and you just want to kick the bolt on the officers. The other two spells can be fully stopped, the barrier and the stasis beam, both stoppable or purgeable. When it's the case of the barrier here, just gets purged right off. Don't need to worry about it at all. So you can pretty much either ignore those or commit a stop, not a kick to them. And then, like I was saying, on a fort week, you could lust this double pull here. If you wanted to, if you didn't think you needed it for the first guy, if you're gonna do like LOS, or you have a pretty beefy comp and you're like, yeah, we don't really need it, you can commit lust to this pull, because it does kind of line up with 2 minutes, especially if you don't lust that initial guy. It'll line up with 2 minutes pretty nicely. So lusting here also fine on a fort week. But like I said, on a tyrannical week, you're definitely going to want to lust the boss here. Now, there is kind of a neat tech, a little bit inconsistent, we've found. Maybe I can't quite find the exact spot. I've only been able to replicate it like a couple times, but it's basically in the next pack, or on the Portalmancer here. There's a spot on top of these boxes that you can get. I think I probably need to pull the boss around a little bit, where it'll just kind of shoot these, at least like 90%, just like this. 90% of them will shoot this way, and that, like, when it shoots this way, it doesn't even hit me. Like, we see these other weird directions, it is hitting me sometimes. But it's a way to kind of control most of how these shoot. See, this is kind of working, but not really fully working. I can't find the exact spot. I'm going to have to play around with it a little bit more. But this is something that people can do to kind of control the direction of this, and kind of make it a little bit easier for your DPS not have to constantly move if like 90% of them are all shooting in the same direction. It's nice. But anyways, when this guy gets low, that's when I start chaining into this 3-pack here. We're going to start DPSing it down, you know, and then as soon as the boss actually becomes hittable, we pop Lust and take this pack in to the boss itself here. Keeping kick, because it's important, because this boss is quite dangerous, and that's why we are like DPSing this the whole time, popping all CDs here. I think I might even proc cheat right at the beginning, yeah. This is a very dangerous setup on the pole, both in terms of tank damage and like stuff happening with a relatively dangerous boss. That's why you want to get the boss, or these trash down very, very quickly into the boss fight, so you don't have to deal with it. And honestly, I do not recommend pulling additional trash into this boss, because there is like 4 mobs over to the side, and yeah, you could save a bit of time by doing that with the boss fight and dragging them in, like when you have your next 2 minutes up. But it's just very, very dangerous. I don't recommend it. And like, these guys just melt instantly, right? It's still dangerous, but it's I think this one is worth, because you're in all CDs plus Bloodlust on Tyrannical Week, for example, or just all CDs on a Fort Week. But I don't think adding this extra stuff is in, because it's going to be all CDs, and it's in the middle of the boss fight versus on pull, where you have a little bit of breathing room on pull before anything really scary happens anyways from the boss. So yeah, definitely I would say maybe don't add more into this boss, maybe just a 3-pack. And if you're a little scared, just do the 3-pack on its own. Don't worry about adding it into boss. It's a little unnecessary, but obviously we're doing a very high key, so we want to save as much time as we can by doing that. In terms of the boss, you're going to see like most of these interrogations actually get canceled. There's quite a few things. So he's cloaking that one, so cloak works, turtle works, block works, human racial works if you have humans in your party. The other thing they're using here are potions of unhindered passing, I believe it's called. So everyone make sure they have potions on the boss, so they pot the first pull, and then they're not potting here. They have pots up for this boss. They don't DPS pot. So he's a monk. Monks have no way to do it outside of their what's it called? Their pot. Or the other thing that does work is Ultimate Fleshcraft. If you're running Merilith, that channeling Fleshcraft, I believe, does work. I think the monk actually does do that during this boss fight at some point. Let me see. Actually, I actually completely forgot. I don't remember if he did it this run or if it was a different run. That's too far back. Anyways, Ultimate Fleshcraft does work. Again, immunities of any sort, like bubble, that'll work as well. Anything like that. But the big thing is unhindered passing. Make sure you have those pots. Very, very good. It saves you a ton of damage on the boss. It saves you a ton of damage on the party because, of course, like these containment cells, when you have to deal with them, you have to run away, you do a bunch of damage to them. The person's taking a ton of damage, and then once you kill it, big party hit, and that's very dangerous when combined with the impound contraband, right? I think our rogue cheated right there because of that. It's spooky, so you want to skip as many as possible. So commit those immunities, commit those unhindered passing pots, all stuff like that. Do not get, or get as few cages as physically possible. It's really, really, really helpful. The fewer cages you have to deal with over the course of that boss fight, the faster it goes and the safer it is. So you want to skip as many of those as possible. Quick 4-pack here, and then we just skip here, Mind Soothe, run right through with Shroud, and we're going right here. Just kind of a big thing to remember when doing these right pulls is the number of stealth dudes that are supposed to be in each pack. So this first one has 3. Got 1. Flare up, there's a second guy, and the third guy was in this pack over to this right side. They can be, like, usually like one is like around here, one is like around this area, and then one is up just above this set of stairs right here. So keep that in mind. Watch those skulkers. They can be a bit spooky. The other thing is try and point them in a direction like against a wall here. Like this guy's not supposed to be there for a second. He's supposed to be over the side. I'm trying to point all the skulkers this way to not let that quick blade dash kind of spread to the DPSers because that's just a bunch of extra damage we don't want to deal with. And then we go into the big pull here. Again, this pull is going to be lusted on Fortified Week. On Tyrannical Week, it's not. We just kind of do the pull. And we have the big kicks here are the smuggler kicks on the bombs, the hyperlight bombs. We want to kick as many of those as possible. And just watching this circle will disorient you. Very bad if the tank gets disoriented, by the way. And other than that, we're just DPSing big. The one thing is we are supposed to get a single stealth guy in this pack here. Single stealth guy is supposed to be in this pack. I don't know if he's in the pack. I think he comes in very late. Yeah, we didn't find him until late here. But do note, this pack is supposed to have a single stealth guy. He has a pretty long pat, is the thing. His pat goes like all the way down this way a bit. There he is, right at the end. The Skulker comes in and procs my perk like a nice guy. So make sure you get one Skulker in this pack as well. But that is that pull. And then we have the setup for the Mailroom pull. So like I said, this is a Tyrannical key, which means we're going Mailroom first instead of into the Oasis, because we have 4 minutes, so Bloodlust at this point. So we want to make sure we're ripping that Bloodlust on Postmaster. So we're going to immediately set up our first Postmaster pull and then continue on in the post room until we actually get to the boss itself and then do the boss. So just finishing off that last Skulker came in super late, so obviously he has way more health. And then here's the setup. So I run over here, tag the Shady Dealer. I give him another hit, I think, and then a taunt as well. I get a speed boost, get the Tiger's Lust, pick up this next Shady Dealer. Meanwhile, by the way, by this happening, like look at the minimap. We have the healer is already gone to open up the next portal. He's opening up the portal by the menagerie. That's what he left to do that. He mounted up after that pack, left, and went to do that while I'm doing this. Pick up the next infiltrator. Keep running, keep on running. We're going straight to the Mailroom here, me and 2 DPS. Now you can also see the rogue is there. He's going to go and do the gauntlet thing here. The what's it called? The trading thing, you know, that thing. He's going to go do the trading thing and unlock the Oasis for the password. Priest is already back. He already went across and came back and opened all the portals. And we go right into this Mailroom pull. If the healer's not back, though, you can still start this pull. Like, there's not really much party damage here that you need to worry about. So it's not a big deal if you started a little bit before the healer gets back. But yeah, now we're just doing this pull down a DPSer. We had a couple lackeys, probably from the rogue, I think. I guess maybe he got some lackeys to us. I don't know. But they're non-elites. They don't really do much. Not the end of the world. And we're going to finish up this pack here and just chain it into the next pack. I believe usually our rogue does have to die at the end of his run, but he usually gets it. Looks like he didn't even die this time, though. Looks like he made it in pretty cleanly. Probably got a vanish off at the end. So it's 50-50 whether you have to die at the end or you're able to do it without dying as like a rogue or hunter or maybe mage. I'm not sure if mage does it too well, actually, but rogue and hunter for sure can do it relatively consistently on their own. It's just sometimes if you get really, really bad RNG, you can't do it. You have to die on like the second one or something. So just be aware sometimes you have to do like one rotation, but otherwise we're just training these rooms because we don't have a warlock. Like normally you would banish this male elemental, you would save him for boss, and you would use 2 male elementals on the boss. We don't have a warlock obviously in our comp here, so we kill this male elemental and we only use 1 on the boss because we don't want to deal with not having banish basically really hard carries that, because otherwise any kind of dot, anything that tickles this male elemental is going to break its CC, and it's a bit of a pain to deal with. So we just kill it for safety here, and use it for the pack. Meanwhile, we use this male elemental on the boss here, and you can see Lust is just coming off CD. Almost perfect timing on this key level on our Lust here. We're just going to make sure we kill the rest of the pack before this male elemental, and then I'm going to reposition the male elemental a little bit more towards the center of the room here for Postmaster himself. So there, a little death grip, get it low, and then I'll pull in the boss, pop Lust. You have all CDs, get a big timing on this thing here, the big haste bubble buff. And the big thing is still getting these soaks, right? Don't greed and not get any of these soaks, because still getting most of the soaks is quite important, and the damage is not too bad because we have the priest or the mass dispel on this magic debuff. So it's actually pretty valuable to get as many soaks as possible here. So I get the double soak, 1 in there, someone got the soak out there. Like we got almost every soak but 1. This is very, very good because the more soaks you get, the easier it is to actually do the bombs quickly and effectively. So here we're relatively healthy, not much has happened, so we have evasion available. We opt not to use it here and save it for a scarier AoE later on in the fight. First unstable goods. So for those that don't know, you can tell that yellow light there. So you see that light turned yellow. Let me rewind a tad bit. So initially, all the lights are red. Waiting. Okay, initially red. You see all these red lights. One is going to turn yellow. This one in the front here, the lights turn yellow, and that means that's the one that's going to open. It's not open yet, but it's going to open. And now it turns blue. That means it is open. So that's how you know which chute is going to open. It turns yellow first, and then it'll turn blue. You know the yellow one is going to be the one that's open. Quickly chuck all the things in there, and now we're just chilling. That was a very, very quick. Go back to soaks again. You want to get as many as you can. If there's one soak in another soak, not the end of the world. Missed a soak there, not really that bad, especially because you can't get back to back the same one. This one we're a little lower going into it, so we do opt to pop the evasion there. Evasion, of course, takes no damage. Turtle as well works, so ice ball, any kind of immunity will work, but just notably for rogues, evasion, which isn't really immunity work. So this one in the back is open. Getting all of our unstable goods ASAP. Other thing to note is there is a slight grace period in terms of when you can throw it in and when it closes. I think you'll see it here. Yeah, you'll see it here. Oh no, this was too late. So that was too late. The grace period was over, but sometimes you'll be able to throw it in when this thing as it's closing, but it'll still count as being in. So again, that's kind of this fight. It is a lot of damage though. Like don't get it wrong. Like the fan mails, the money orders, like it's a lot of party damage. So you really want to make sure you kill this boss ASAP. I think here we are not quite low enough to commit to killing before these goods detonate. So again, the yellow light, we see that. So we're just like, okay, we're not going to commit to a kill here. We're just going to do this last unstable goods, and then we'll commit to a kill. Then when we actually do commit to a kill, nobody soaks these hazardous liquids. Just extra damage with the back-to-back with the fan mail and the money order here. You don't really want to take before the end of the boss fight. So we just do 0 soaks on this set. I think I just soak 1 as the tank, of course, very safe to give us some more space here. But otherwise, though, we just call and commit to the kill there. Really tough healing fight. You can see, like, when the healer is above the tank on healing this season, you know it's a tough healing fight. But then we're going straight into the Oasis here. Of course, again, order dependent. Like sometimes you do Oasis first after that first mailroom pull, just because Lust is still on a pretty long CD because you just previously lusted that big trash bowl. Here though, Tyrannical Week, not the case. We're going into Oasis here. Rogue has already done the whole maze. And there is this Shady Dealer here. So it's kind of optional when you want to pull him in. He can be a little bit of a nuisance during this phase, of course, with the frontal cones and the sleep puddles can kind of interrupt people sometimes. So what we tend to do is instead of dealing with that, we just bring him into the final boss at the end. Now, this phase. So, big thing to worry about here is actually the brawling patrons. So the big thing is their throw drink is what they're going to do initially is they're both going to cast a throw drink, and what you really want to do is just desync them. The problem is, like, if they both pick the same target to throw a drink at, they will actually just one-shot them. Like, as soon as you get to any kind of high key, it's just a one-shot if they both target the same person. So to avoid that, again, we just desync one of them. You saw there we had a freezing trap out just to desync. It's really something you're going to want to do because you really don't want to get no counterplayed one-shot because of bad luck. So if you're looking into this next there, oops, far. But we just insta back up. There we go. At the end of this phase, freezing trap's down. He walks in. It insta CCs him. Look at the throw drink damage. Like, that's how much damage throw drink does alone. He just almost one shots already on a 29 tyrannical. And note these ads do scale with tyrannical, so it is getting boosted damage. But like, you really and that priest getting hit there was the other one. Once we finally took it out of the CC and let it do its throw drink, because if you try and stop it, it'll keep casting, right? It wants to throw its drink at least once. It's going to throw its drink. So you can't do anything to stop that. So you just have to kind of let it go off one at a time to make sure no one gets one shot. Other than that, this boss is super easy, right? You just kind of get your stacks, don't touch the green swirlies. And you're going to see here, when we actually get to the boss itself, we're going to have someone tag the infiltrator and bring him in and just cleave him down with our big haste buff. Boss comes out, infiltrator comes out. Big damn here on this stuff, and that's really it. Nothing crazy to talk about on this boss. There's no big tech or anything like that. Note the drums doesn't make you immune to the infiltrator abilities, just the boss abilities. Note for these notes to refresh in the boss phase, you only need to hit one of the notes because you already have the haste buff. You don't need to be in the middle of your notes and hit all three. As long as you hit one of your notes, as you saw there, I was right on the edge of the boss, and I just ticked one note to get my buff extension. That's all you need to do. And you just blast through this boss, doing a ton of damage with your Giga Haste. Not really too much to talk about. But leaving here, we go to our portal. This one's outside. There was no reason for me to run a mailroom, by the way. We had opened one outside Oasis. But yeah, you just get into your portal. Go here. We're grouping the infiltrators, as you can see. This guy's from down the stairs. This guy's from beside the cats. Reese is going to get the last infiltrator from over there with the one peacekeeper, I believe it is. I guess this last shady dealer in here. And we're just doing this in here. You are going to probably see one person go in and just trigger the RP, I believe. They might have already done that as well. Just walk into this room, step into it to trigger the RP. Be careful. There's a ton of ground effects going. There's a ton of frontals going. Just be very careful. We slowly kind of move. I think we're going to trigger the second RP somewhere in here. And we are definitely not going to do this with the boss, by the way. You definitely do this pull on its own. Pulling triple, quadruple infiltrator into boss is a little spooky. So you don't want to do that. Once you start dying, though, if you have like 1 or 2 low infiltrators left, you can chain that into the boss. But usually it takes long enough to do this pull, especially because we lost the DPS, that this is going to just reset the boss, and then you'll just go in when the boss has reset. So you see here, attack getting low, but we're going to kill this before the boss reset finishes, and so we just pull the boss on. So you see here, Lust is now off CD, of course, because we've done Oasis and that pull. And we have 4 minutes kind of in the bank. So we can hold a little bit here. So I think what ends up happening is we end up holding for our 2 minutes and then popping Lust with our 2 minutes. Just so that technically, if we go right up against the timer, we can get another Lust on the last boss needed. But we're going pretty fast in this. I'm not even sure if we end up getting the last. So here, it's just kind of a Rip Lust on CD situation. The big thing with Alcrux is if you do end up pulling him with infiltrators, is that you do not want to get pulled through breaths or get pulled through sleep puddles. That can be very bad, so just be aware of that. Try and set it up in a not terrible way. If you're going to do that, it's very scary, but you can do it. Otherwise, very straightforward. Goliath man, same deal. You can mass dispel his debuff off if your group is close enough. That's something we do alternate. There we go, mass dispel. Other things that work, you can dwarf it off, like diffuse it off, those kind of things. Warlock dispel, of course. Warlock is very good in this dungeon, of course. Who would have thought? The only thing is that there's RP for the next boss to spawn. Oh, you can see that the hunter can stand inside the boss's hitbox for that, and turtle, and pick up all the orbs. Really nice. But 45% is when the RP for the next boss to spawn starts. So that's when you want to start pumping your damage into this guy if that's something you can do. Gives you a little bit more time. It's not the end of the world to have them both up at the same time. It's just a tad bit annoying. But you're going to see I've started to bring him over into this corner because I am going to use this doorway. And I think I brought him a little early because he's not quite going to die here. So he's going to go through a new venting, which is a bit annoying to have him in this corner while he's doing the venting. Just because positioning is a bit odd. So you see I'm going to walk out and he does the knockback in there as well. And now after this whirling, I'm going to walk back in with just because we do want him to die. It's great camera angle, by the way. Huge information gained. But I'm basically just in this corner, getting his boss as deep as the bodies of the boss as deep as possible, because you see now all these orbs are getting caught in that doorway. So it eliminates a bunch of orbs from bouncing around the room, and also it lets the person who gets this, they want to insta stack up. They can just walk into the boss's body here. Oh, he lost the buff, but am I gonna walk into the boss's body? Probably not. I think, yeah, I got it as the tank. Usually I don't get this because it just bounces between the melee, but somehow I got it here. But you can just walk into the boss's body with this buff here, and you just get full stack. So look how many orbs are just sitting there, getting caught in the boss's body. Very useful little tip for this boss if you haven't done it already. But this was something that was done in Season 3 as well. But then we move on. One thing I do want to note is how to do this on a left side pull. I have a clip of it, of us doing it. So a left side pull at the beginning. How do you do this without pulling any of the left side? Because that's how the left side is commonly done. So I just wanted to show this here, just real quick, small tangent on how to do the left side pull. So basically, you jump down left side here, and then you would mind soothe this guy. So it does require a priest. You mind soothe, and then everyone mounts up, and you all run together here. Run straight past these core hounds. They're doing RP to set up. They're not real. You jump right down here, and now you would set up the pull the same way you did on the right side pull. Exact same way now. So this is the same thing, but that's how you would do it in case you don't know how. You mind soothe the guy, and you mount up and run past before the RP for the hounds actually finishes, and jump down the side and pull. That's how you do it on the left side, just FYI. Continuing on with this route though. So here, you walk up. The priest actually has already ran ahead. What the priest is doing here is triggering RP. Yeah, so he's running ahead. He mind soothes this guy and jumps up early to start the Soasmi RP. And meanwhile, we'll just run over here. We'll pull this guy in. We'll start doing this guy. Priest is now already done triggering the RP, so he jumps back down, tags the Peacekeeper, the solo Peacekeeper way over there, and then runs around. The only thing you have to worry about is his beat timing a little bit. But with the Priest being right there and the Peacekeeper being there, he will not actually charge. It's not far enough for the Peacekeeper to charge to the Priest. So he's safe. You don't have to worry about the charge, and you can just cleave these guys down together. No real issues at all. The other thing, a Warlock can actually even snap this Peacekeeper up with the Warlock personal gate tech. So that's something else you can do if you don't want to do this Peacekeeper with the Commander mob. Otherwise, though, we just do them together because the RP is already triggering. Not a big deal to bring him onto the guy. And then we have the final boss, and we still have 5 minutes on Bloodlust. Yeah, I don't think we get Bloodlust on this boss. So we probably could have held for a more valuable Bloodlust on Menagerie, for example, which would be again around that 45% health mark on the Goliath. That's probably the most valuable Bloodlust, but a lot of times you just want to kind of get it on CD. We could have waited though. We had time to wait, but you don't necessarily do have time to wait for that Bloodlust. So just keep an eye on what your actual timer is and whether you have the ability to get another Bloodlust in or not in your current run. Otherwise, Soasmi, this boss, man, she divides below what 70% and 40% health. So be aware of that. That's generally when she's going to cast the divides. the techniques and the Shuri is just, her spell queuing is messed up, or his spell queuing. I think it's a guy. His spell queuing is completely messed up. Yeah, you can get some pretty spicy overlaps. Just be careful. Again, a lock gate and blinks and stuff like that can get you over these walls in a pinch, and even over the Shuri line. So if you need to, do that. But yeah, this boss sometimes is a complete joke based on the spell queuing, and sometimes it's actually the hardest boss in existence. So good luck on this boss. Hopefully you don't get screwed by the spell queuing. But yeah, that is this video, guys. So hopefully you did learn something new in this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I have videos for the 6 new Shadowlands dungeons. I'll be putting out my Gambit video very soon as well. So I have simple roots, your pugging, that kind of thing. So make sure you check that out. If you have any questions, leave a comment down below, or check out my Twitch channel at Tactics. I'll do my best to answer regardless of where you post it. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.